It's News Talk 580 1059 KMJ. Welcome to the MARC KAPETAN Show. This is attorney MARC KAPETAN, your host. Today's show is brought to you by the Kapetan Brothers Law Firm. We've been serving the Central Valley since 1995. If you or anybody you know has been injured in an auto accident, a truck accident, or a motorcycle accident, give us a call at 559-498-8000. Or if you've been arrested or cited for a criminal offense, call us at 559-498-8000. Kapetan Brothers. We are the Valley's law firm. Hey, folks, when I was a kid, some of my earliest memories were of our time in Washington, D.C., the family over there in Washington, D.C., the spirit of colonial America and the feelings of patriotism were ingrained in me from that early age. More importantly, though, were the feelings of a very special person in the Kapetans' lives. Her name was Miss Margaret. Her husband, Buck Germasian, was my dad's best friend in the military. See, now she's already ready to cry. My guest is ready to cry, aren't you? Aren't you,
not
Mitzi?
yet.
Not yet? And I knew him as Uncle Buck. He was a quiet and gentle guy. He had the battle scars of PTSD long before anybody knew what PTSD was. I remember we couldn't wake him up. We couldn't go up and touch him and wake him up. We had to say from afar, Miss Margaret would say, go wake up your Uncle Buck, but don't walk into the room. Just say it out loud. Yell his name out loud or quietly, because he'd wake up fighting basically. But he was just a wonderful guy. Well, he passed maybe one of my earliest memories. He passed of cancer when I was about 6 years old. I remember a small window to his hospital room at the Bethesda Naval Hospital. It was the same place that I was born just years earlier, and I wasn't allowed to see him, however much I asked to do it. I remember that little small window saying, hey, I want to go in and see Uncle Buck. Miss Margaret suddenly became a widow, and I remember the honor guard passing the American flag to her in her fur coat. And now, without a family of her own, she became that much closer to us. And she became my aunt, just as my flesh and blood. And she was special. Always a song to sing, always a joke to tell, and big hugs and kisses. She was very polite and proper, yet funny, boisterous, and always laughing. Laughing with us to tears, basically. Now Marcella's crying. Oh my God, Marcella. She was one of my favorite persons in this whole world, and that gets me to my next guest. When I met my next guest, I thought I was meeting the spitting image of Miss Margaret. She is funny, boisterous, always laughing, and always full of big hugs. In fact, when she came to the radio station today, she hugged no less than about 5 people on the way up the elevator. She's been a family friend for over years, right? And although we don't hang in the same social circles, there is a sense of family and warm friendship whenever I see her. She is the closest thing to Miss Margaret, one of my favorite persons in the whole world, and she always puts a smile on my face. She is also the director of sales and marketing at the Save Mart Center, and she's brought with her her new general manager from the Save Mart Center, because she's a very good employee, right, Bob? So it's a pleasure to welcome to the MARC KAPETAN Show, Director of Sales and Marketing at the Save Mart Center, and one of my favorite gals, I get to say, because she's old school, one of my favorite gals in this world, Mitzi Evans, and her new General Manager of Save Mart, Bob Nocek. Yeah. Welcome, guys.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Wow.
Yeah. I talked to Peter on the way out. We've talked about this in the past, but I said, Peter, I don't know if we've talked about this or not, but who does she remind you of? He goes, oh, Miss Margaret, absolutely.
I've never heard that before. I love that story.
She was a beautiful woman. I mean, just.
Well, I'm honored.
Yeah, and I'm glad that it is you that reminds me of her, just because it is in the Kapetan family that would be an honorable thing, because she was just this wonderful lady. Okay, how long have you been at the Save Mart Center now, Mitzi?
So the arena celebrated, this is hard to believe, but we celebrated our 20th anniversary in November.
That was a big deal for Fresno.
Yeah, well, remember, I was working in radio at the time. I was over at New Rock and the Fox, and we watched the building built.
Yeah.
Our stations advertised in it. Of course, we did a lot of the advertising because there were so many rock shows. Good friends were working in the marketing department, and never really thought that I would be working there. And so I started a year after the arena was built.
Were you in promotions before that, though?
I started out actually in TV news as a reporter.
Where?
And I was at KMPH here. Oh. I interned with KTVU in Oakland.
Yeah.
And really thought I would go into, I also interned with 49ers and the Oakland A's.
Did you really?
Yeah, and I wanted to go into sports marketing. So I graduated from St. Mary's with all of the self-confidence in the world as college graduates do.
And then you ended up at KMPH?
I came back and I marched into the athletic director at the time at Fresno State. They had a position open in their sports information department.
Yeah. And
he's like, Mitzi, I can't hire you. You're not a Fresno State graduate. And I'm like,
no.
Really?
Well, what kind of thinking is that?
He goes, look. He goes, it's okay. He goes, I got a friend named Dick Carr, who's a longtime broadcaster here, who is opening up a newscast for Harry Pappas.
Yeah.
The 10 o'clock news on KMPH.
Right.
So go down and talk to him. And my mom, who you knew real well.
Yeah.
I was just crushed. Like, that was my first no, and that was going to be the final, and I was done. I was not going to work. I was going to, And Mom said, well, you have to go down and do the interview. And I said, I don't know anything about, no.
Yeah.
So she lied to me.
Yeah, right.
Got me all dressed up and said we were going down to Visalia for a friend's daughter's baby shower. Pulled up right in front of the studio, kicked me out of the car.
Oh, that's funny.
Is that so, my mom?
Oh, that's funny.
And I went in and I was the third person hired.
For the news. And what'd you do for Harry?
So I started out as the assignment editor.
Yeah.
And eventually worked my way up. We were in Visalia, then built the Fresno station.
Yeah, right.
And ended up as executive producer. And then for a short period of time, they had a new news, and they put me on. But I hated being in front of the camera. Being in front of the camera,
really?
I hated it. I hate it to this day.
Harry passed a couple months ago.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
God rest his soul. Yeah.
Still close with his niece and nephews.
Yeah. And Steve and them. Yeah.
That was just so amazing.
Yeah.
But that kind of started my journey under I call it the entertainment umbrella.
Yeah.
I've done everything that you possibly can.
Bob, marketing major. How'd you get into all this?
I've had kind of a wild path. I'm actually a criminal justice major with a minor in Spanish.
Well, hey, welcome to the MARC KAPETAN show.
And I've never used it. I went into college. You pick a major and you don't really know what you want to do for a living.
Yeah.
You're 17, 18 years old, and I knew I was sort of drawn to communications, and I started working at the radio station on campus.
You're a radio guy too?
A little bit. I was in college at least, and that was a lot of fun. And I think it was my junior year. The local newspaper had an ad that they were looking for sports correspondents to go out and cover high school games.
Yeah.
So $25 a story. We'd go out, and I was doing it like 5-6 nights a week, and just had a really good time with it.
What was your sports forte?
It was did a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm probably more football than anything else.
Do you got that voice? Do you got that? That voice? Yeah.
Yep.
But so worked at the newspaper I ended up staying at the newspaper for 12 years. They gave me a full-time job when I graduated. Moved to the arts and entertainment beat the last 4 years that I was there, and had gotten to know the executive director of this 1,800-seat performing arts center. It was an old historic theater that did a lot of shows, and I was always telling her who was on tour and who they should be bringing in. And one day she jokingly said, "You should be my program manager." And I'd never booked a show in my life, and I said, if you would consider that, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And we talked for maybe 8 months, and she called me one day. She's like, "Are you ready to do this?" And so I'd never booked a show, and
now you're the GM at Save Mart Center, which is a huge venue, right?
Yeah, that was 2000. I was there for 3.5 years. Now, the first time that I got in with our company was 2003. This was back in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, where I grew up, and so I was at the arena there from 2003 to 2009. and moved up through a bunch of different positions, including assistant general manager.
Yeah.
Moved to North Carolina. Was in North Carolina, did a bunch of different things.
I lived in Lejeune, North Carolina. Yeah, in Jacksonville. Yeah, I know it well.
And then so
now you guys have both ended up here at the I understand Save Mart Center is maybe number 20 something in the world or in the U.S.
It was every venue goes through what's called a honeymoon period. When a venue opens, everybody wants to play that venue.
Right.
And that happened, of course. You guys remember.
And now you guys are just cruising along.
Yeah. So at one point, we were ranked 4th in the world in Polestar.
All right. We'll be right back with Mitzi Evans and Bob Nocek from the Save Mart Center. This is the Mark Kapetan Show on KMJ. It's News Talk 580, 105.9 KMJ. Welcome back to the Mark Kapetan Show. Folks, you know the drill. If you've been in an accident or if you've been cited for a criminal offense or arrested, who do you call, Marcella?
The Kapetan brothers.
The Kapetan brothers. She says it loud. She says it proud. The Kapetan brothers. Folks, you know the drill. Kapetan brothers. We've been doing this for... God, I've been doing this for Mitzi. I've been doing this for 32 years. I'm going to pot this music down here. 32 years I've been an attorney. Oh, God. Kapetan brothers, listen, if you've been in an accident, I understand it's a pretty trying time and you must be scared and you're not sure what to do. So go ahead and give us a call at 559-498-8000. We've represented tons of people, and we've had multi-million-dollar awards, $27 million, $10 million, $3 million. It goes on and on and on. And so we know what we're doing. We'll ease your concerns, and we'll answer all your questions. If you have a case, we'll be happy to represent you. So Kapetan Brothers, 559-498-8000. We are back on with an dear old friend, Mitzi Evans from the Save Mart Center. She's what's the official title now, Mitzi?
Director of Sales and Marketing.
I got that right. Director of Sales and Marketing, and the new GM over at Save Mart Center, Bob Nocek. He's a Nocek. He's a transplant from North Carolina. You said?
Yep.
Were you born in North Carolina?
No, I grew up in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Okay, so you don't have that. We came here with an accent when we first moved here. We would say y'all and all that kind of stuff, and people made fun of us enough that we lost.
I like y'all. It's a great word.
It's better than you guys, right? That's what we tried to tell all the Fresno people. Yeah. So, all right, Mitzi, you are a homegrown Fresno girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I understand your dad. See, I didn't realize this. I didn't realize your dad passed in 71?
It was, the end of 71. We had moved to Sacramento. Dad was with the State Chamber of Commerce. Used to have an office here, and he ran it. And he eventually ended up in Sacramento.
Yeah.
And his job with the state chamber was ways and means. And what that means is you're doing PR for the state of California, but also through political agendas, bills, all that. So he was very, very instrumental in getting O'Neill Forbay. When that was built, that was the beginning of the California Aqueduct.
It was okay. The O'Neill
Forbay, when you're going through Las Banas, going over the hill.
Right.
And in fact, I've got a picture on my phone. There was a lot of lobbying going on.
Yeah.
They wanted they wanted water to go down right through the Central Valley. They built that California Aqueduct, and John F. Kennedy flew out and was sitting on the dais, and my dad's like a couple chairs down, Bernie Sixth up there, Ken Matty.
Oh, wow.
And that was kind of the world I grew up in.
Yeah. But he was also a World War II pilot. I mean, like flying what kind of missions over Italy? And
he was over Italy, over Africa. He was a B-25 pilot. And
you got to be kidding me. That was a very, very dangerous job. The percentage of living
very
was
young. I look back at these. You were talking about a yearbook earlier.
Yeah.
My dad's journal book. Amazing, Mark. And I think Pete's seen it, but I have to.
Yeah,
Ray
you got to bring it. I want to see this.
Yeah. But he was leading a squadron over Africa, and they had to escape gunfire. He went up a little high, and it damaged his heart. So he and he was 20
Oh my gosh. Hey, he was actually old for that.
I know, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So they didn't have the medical advancements then.
Yeah.
And so he got an honorable discharge, and mom and dad
met mom where?
Met mom in Vallejo.
Yeah.
Both went to Vallejo High School.
She did something with the military too, right?
Yeah, she was very involved she was what she did outside of that when she was even in Fresno with Fig Garden Women's Club. She was the fundraiser.
Yeah. Yeah, she was Fig Garden Women's Club. She was the president of the Republican Central Committee here in town,
and
or the
also
Women's
for
Committee.
The state.
Oh, for the state also? Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Head of Fresno Opera League.
And a teacher, right? English teacher?
She was an English teacher, and she taught back at Tehipity Junior Middle School.
She also did promotions. You said she did Madam Butterfly?
Well, that was when she was with Fresno Opera League.
Right.
And we tried to bring it into Woodward Park. What's funny about that, at that time they said no, because everything had to be acoustic.
Really?
That's changed.
Oh, yeah.
So we did it down at Soroyan, but
that was was that an impetus for getting into promotions, or was that later in her life?
You know, it was funny. She was a teacher.
Yeah.
Now, I was a sophomore in high school when I lost my dad. So we moved back here.
Rough.
But through the years, I think his legacy was ingrained with me to go into marketing and promotions.
Yeah.
Mom's teaching legacy went into my brother Pat, who you know.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Pat became a teacher.
That's right.
So it's funny how we both kind of.
You had a third brother, Danny.
My older brother, Danny.
Yeah.
Danny was adopted.
Yeah.
Was the first kid that was adopted.
Yeah, all you guys were, right?
Not Pat.
Oh, not Pat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they adopted Danny, and Danny got very, very sick when he was 5, and it destroyed his brainstem, and he became special needs.
Oh, man.
Mom raised him. He was in our family all the way up until when my dad passed in Sacramento. And then at that time, you couldn't raise a special needs child as a single mom.
Oh,
so
boy.
we had to put him in a home, and it was an interesting time.
That's going to be rough, though, as a kid, losing your brother.
It was
like
tough. That year in Sacramento, we weren't there very long, and my dad's heart finally gave out. We had come down to Fresno, went back.
Okay, listen. Marcella's going to be in tears here in a second. I had to look over just to see because...
No, it was such a part of it. Pat and I talk about it all the time. Dad was a speechwriter for Ronald Reagan at the time. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
we had Ken Kuchigian on. Did he know Ken?
Probably.
I'm going to ask Ken about it.
Ken, yeah. So when he passed, the Secret Service show up at our house, and Ron and Nancy came in, and I was a sophomore. Pat was in 5th grade, and it made a big impression on me. Pat was very, very into the cops in the bodyguards.
Right.
But when I look back as I get older, looking what my family had done, I'm adopted.
Yeah.
I couldn't have asked for a better family.
No, you really couldn't.
I am so blessed, and really outstanding parents that allowed us to be free thinkers. And I look back at Mom was very young when she lost Dad. And
she's not only young, but it was a time where it was difficult. It was just maybe during the women's movement where for her to be so successful, do all those things, and already be in a lot of that by the time your dad passed, was pretty outstanding for a woman.
It was very outstanding, and I didn't realize it at the time.
Yeah.
I like to think a lot of her is in me. She certainly gave me the confidence to do it and not ask for help. And for that, I'm always grateful.
Yeah.
And I think it gave me the courage to get to where I am now. But
and you also have the sweetness that she had too. So
thanks for that.
She was wonderful lady. Bob, we're going to get back to you, but that was just that's my gal Mitzi, man. You know, she's just a wonderful lady. So this is Mitzi Evans and Bob Nocek from the Save Mart Center on the MARC KAPETAN Show. We'll be right back after this. It's News Talk 580, 105.9 KMJ. Welcome back to the MARC KAPETAN Show. Folks, if you are looking for great rock and roll entertainment, go to AmericanMadeConcerts.com. They have some great shows coming up, including Gilby Clarke from Guns N' Roses fame. AmericanMadeConcerts.com. Also, if you're looking for really big, great entertainment, go to SaveMartCenter.com. What is it, you guys?
SaveMartCenter.com.
A little promo for our guest here today. SaveMartCenter.com. All right, let's pot this music down. We are on with Mitzi Evans, who's an old friend of mine, and also with Bob Nocek, who's the new GM at the Save Mart Center. Who is coming up over there at the Save Mart Center, Bob?
We've actually got a pretty crazy week coming up. After we come back from the July 4th holiday, we've got Fuerza Regida, and we've
Sold
got
out.
Wait, who?
Fuerza Regida.
Okay. I'm going to get back to that, but go ahead. Who else?
We've got Blink-182.
Oh, that's great, yeah.
We've got Cole Swindell, country artist.
Okay.
And
Ice Cube and Summer
that's
Jam.
right. Yep.
No, really?
So
Yep.
we're all over in 1 week.
Literally
In 1 week.
all over the place.
Yep.
Yeah, in 1 week.
As a GM for something like this, I mean, is it... Do you lose sleep at nighttime where you got 4 huge acts like that? Because you got to turn over the whole stadium, cleaning, concessions, everything like that overnight.
The nice thing about this venue is we've got an amazing staff, and a lot of them have been there a long time, and they're used to doing it, and so they know what needs to be done, and so it'll just kind of run through the night to clean up and get ready for the next day.
Yeah.
That's one of the nice things about a building at this level is they're ready for it, and we've got an incredible reputation among the artists. We actually ended up hosting a lot of rehearsals, and people don't hear about them because that's not something we can talk about.
Well, no, we can talk about one that's already happened, though, right? And that we right, Mitzi, you met maybe Mitzi Evans over here, the director of marketing over there. You had a great experience with one of those rehearsals. So Fresno is a beautiful venue at Save Mart Center, but it's in a market that is cheaper as far as certain labor costs are concerned and certain costs of hotels and all that kind of stuff. And so a lot of these big bands use you guys as the practice rehearsal hall, including who, Mitzi?
Paul McCartney.
Paul McCartney.
It's one of the most amazing experiences our staff's ever been through.
Yeah. You said he was very humble, very nice, and actually invited you guys to watch some of the songs while he's rehearsing?
So one of the things a building will get a good reputation for doing rehearsals is how well the staff behaves. And our staff is amazing.
And that is, don't bug the artists.
Yeah,
they're
don't go in
working.
and take
Don't take
pictures.
Yeah.
Don't ask for autographs. Don't bring your friends into the building. And he, Barry Marshall, his manager and best friend, is an amazing man, came into my general manager and said, Paul wants me to extend a thank you to the staff. This has been the best rehearsal staff. He never felt like he had to look over his shoulder. You guys just went above and beyond to give him what he needed.
Right.
And he would like your staff to come out, and he's going to do a performance for them.
Oh, my God.
So we got to stand, and we're a small staff. I mean, we're like 15 people, standing right in front of the stage, and he did the encore for his upcoming tour. The encore song was Live and Let Die, and it was the full song with all the pyrotechnics, and there wasn't one person standing there that didn't have tears rolling down their face.
Oh, my God. And what a song, how dramatic that is.
It was so amazing. And it was also amazing, too, when he did his first show of the tour with us. They were nice enough to invite my GM, myself, a couple other people, back into the green room where they sat and did a sort of a run-through from the dress rehearsal. And it was like...
You mean they talked it over, basically?
Yeah, they're like...
So you're saying Paul?
Paul was there. His daughter Stella was there, but their whole crew. Paul was only there for a couple minutes.
But they invited you in.
They asked us to come back, and we just sat there and listened to them say, okay, we're knocking this song out. This is not going to be in the tour.
Oh, you got all the behind-the-scenes stuff.
Yeah, the Blackbird song, we're going to move it to the third song down, as if we weren't even in the room.
Wow.
And it was pretty amazing.
How exciting is that?
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Yeah.
You've been doing Bob, you've been GMing and working in this field for how long now?
About 25 years.
Okay. What's your experience that was like that?
I think my big one was AC/DC. We had them in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania for rehearsals for about 2 weeks.
Yeah. By the way, Mitzi, I just wanted to. You saw that generation gap right there, Mitzi.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
Yours is Paul McCartney.
I know the words to their songs too.
Okay,
so
go ahead.
I'm hip.
And so yeah, it was a phenomenal experience.
Yeah.
And they did a private show for Sony guests for about 3,000 people on that Sunday, and then the tour was opening, I think, on Tuesday. Sunday night, this big inflatable doll that they had as part of the set caught fire and burned, and they weren't able to start the tour with it.
Oh my God.
But the nice
Live
thing was,
entertainment.
we were just so grateful to have them for that period of time. We had black leather jackets made for their entire crew.
Oh, wow.
With our logo and the tour logo on the back.
Yeah.
And so the night of the public performance, the last night they were there, you know, a lot of times you take gifts back to the artist and you get a quick picture and that's it.
Yeah.
Well, these guys invited us into the dressing room. We brought the jackets in. They were swapping jackets for sizes that fit with each other. We had a big cake made just for them. They were cutting the cake and sharing it. They introduced us to their wives. And it's a really neat experience when you get to see people settle in like that.
Yeah.
And kind of be comfortable and act like human beings and not somebody who's like stuck in a photo shoot.
Question for both you guys. What was obviously there's always this inspiration. My inspiration for playing guitar was seeing Kiss open up, seeing Kiss in 77. But the guy I patterned myself after was the opening act, Rick Nielsen. He comes out on stage and I said, I want to play guitar. What was the concert for you? And I know we're going to be talking generations again, Mitzi.
No, it's
sorry,
all right.
honey.
Not a problem.
Sorry,
I got
honey.
to see all the cool bands.
Yeah, what was your first band? What was that, or what was that one band that you saw that you just went, oh, I want to be in this entertainment industry?
When I traveled with Ice Capades as their promotion director.
Don't tell me it's the Ice Capades.
No.
Okay.
But I'm a huge jazz and blues
Really?
fanatical. And my college roommate and her friend, it was Cal Jader's daughter.
Okay.
So we got to go into the city, into these warehouses and watch some of the greatest musicians,
Right.
Etta James, all those guys practice. I'm
Wow.
from Fresno. I have no idea what I'm seeing.
Wow.
Fast forward, go to Ice Capades. We're going into San Francisco for the first time. The box office was independent. That was from the days when we had independent box
Right,
offices. And they also did the box office at the Monterey Jazz Festival. And they hired me to come work in the box office. And I'm sitting there and I see Cal Jader and Jeff Beck together come out on the stage. And that moment I knew I wanted to be in live entertainment and music.
Yeah.
I had no idea how I was going to do it.
Wow.
But it was a moment that changed it.
Jeff Beck.
Oh God, my favorite.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what did it for me.
Bob?
You know?
It took me a little while to realize it could be a career, but my first arena show was Billy Joel at the Spectrum in Philadelphia
Yeah.
in early 80s. And so, like, it was just one of those things, like, I can still picture it. I can still see that stage from that seat.
Yeah.
And, I sort of got hooked on going to big shows after that and, you know, finally getting the chance when the arena opened in our market and kind of getting to know people who worked in that business.
Right.
It started to look like something that possibly I could do, and it was just a great path to follow.
Mark, you're a musician. You know when you're on stage,
Yeah.
and that feeling when you first see the audience out there. And I think Bob will agree with me. It never gets old when I walk out and I see a sold out show or a half sold out show.
Yeah.
And that feeling of, wow, we made this happen.
Well, it's all the energy of all those people together.
Yes.
And what I was talking to my young secretary, she was naming, and that's why I was going to say I was going to get back to the Hispanic band that you were talking about, or the Latin band that you were talking about, is she showed me something from last year. God, you know, I had it written down. I don't remember what the name of the band. Rebelde?
Oh, RBD.
RBD, yeah. And
Phenomenal.
so, even though you don't know the music, it's just that energy of all these people gathering together and just cheering on their favorite stars or whatever it may be. It's just, it makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up.
Well, in learning, getting artists in that I have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
We have to do the research. We have to market them. We
Yeah.
work closely with the artist management. We had no idea about these guys.
Yeah.
They're huge.
We are on with Mitzi Evans and Bob Nocek from the Save Mart Center. We'll be right back after this. This is the MARC KAPETAN Show on KMJ. This is KMJ at KMJNow.com or wherever you stream. Welcome back to the MARC KAPETAN Show. We're going to get right back into it with Mitzi Evans from the Save Mart Center and the boss man, the boss man, Bob Nocek from the Save Mart Center. Mitzi, real quick, you were talking about the Ice Capades. Do they party like rock stars? What's worse, rock and roll people or Ice Capades people?
I'm going to say equals in different ways.
Yeah.
When you've got 80 gorgeous ice skaters traveling across the country, like we took our show into Halifax, Nova Scotia, and the Navy fleet was there.
Oh, no.
My tour manager and I are yanking girls out of bars with Russian sailors.
And then they get up the next day and they skate. That's funny.
They get it. Yeah, it's just, it's like a person going into the frat house their freshman year and they can just party all they want.
Absolutely. You know, Bob, you were talking about what you guys have coming up. I mean, just all these different artists from different genres and stuff. But, you know, I got to ask, the economy is rough. Prices are going through the roof, and I'm assuming ticket prices too. A lot of these bands no longer make money selling their records. Live entertainment is and I love it because I mean, I don't love it, but I remember the artists who would say, "Hey man, I'm not doing it for the money, man. I'm doing it because I love the music." Well, hey dude, you're not doing it for the money any longer. So I mean, what is the state of how much more difficult has it become in the recent years?
You know, we're still feeling pretty bullish on the market post COVID. Things are going well for us. We're seeing a lot of activity. Obviously, it's always a concern that sales are going to drop off. If people start to feel a little uncomfortable, people don't feel like they've got the discretionary spending. Yeah. But things have been fairly strong across the business. There's been a few stories out there about some tours that went out, but there's always tours that don't work out.
Right.
There's always been agents get too aggressive, put somebody in a bigger building than they should be in. But I mean, based on what we're seeing in our building, there's still a lot of activity coming. We've got stuff on the books really into 2026. So the shows are coming our way. Ticket prices are a conversation we have with promoters all the time. We try to remind them that we're not LA, and you know they need to be a little more sensitive in some markets.
And you guys do take that into consideration.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because we know it makes an impact on whether or not people will buy.
Some of these smaller shows, it's rough because you have the Indian casinos that are willing to pay a lot more to some of these artists and stuff. And I understand that ASM Global also runs the Selland Arena.
Yep.
Any other venues in town?
Yep.
It's Royan, you said, right?
Yeah, the whole complex downtown is under our management.
Okay.
And we've got a great relationship with them as far as the local teams go. We work with them all the time. And, you know, obviously there might be a little bit of overlap where we sort of compete. But, you know, I think for the most part, we both have our niches. They have a variety of buildings to work with. And they're doing the theater stuff, which we wouldn't do.
Right.
And really the strength of our company is our network. We've got 350 buildings around the world in various sizes. And, you know,
But there's a place for a lot of these shows to be at the Selland Arena, because I haven't seen quite as much lately, and I don't know what the status of the Selland is. I know that's a big concern for the people here in Fresno, whether having the same company run it helps because of the huge company that you have that could book all these things, or whether it hurts because you lack some of the competition.
It's been a tough thing that I think is one of the most misunderstood is Selland, and remember I was taking shows in there long before Save Mart Center was built, is a certain size and has certain rigging from when it was built. Save Mart Center comes along and it's bigger, it's newer, but more importantly, it's an easier rig.
Right. And what you mean by that is when they have all this equipment that they have to hang from the roof and stuff like that.
Sometimes they can't.
You can't do it at the Selland, right?
But that being said, Save Mart Center put Fresno on the map.
Right.
So when they'll call us, and this happened with Santana came in, and we also have Fresno State men and women's basketball, volleyball.
Right.
They're our tenant, and they book, we do the games. We couldn't take it, so we called Selland Arena and said, you got this date open?
Right.
We're going to put Santana down there.
Right.
And that's how it works.
So you guys have the power of booking that maybe if Selland Arena was a city-run thing or was run by a small independent promoter, he would never be able to get some of these bookings.
Well, they could. They absolutely could. It just helps that they don't have to go out, and they have a great booking guy down there.
You know, talking about the rigging and stuff like that, I've been dreaming lately. I saw UFO. I saw Mott the Hoop. I saw all these bands back in the day, And literally, they had 5 guys on stage and just a set of lights. And that was it. And I'm just waiting for someone to come back and say, we don't need the bombs and the explosions and the video walls and all that kind of stuff. Is it happening?
Yeah, it is.
Really?
We're seeing it.
As a response maybe to the economy, you think? Or do you think some people are nostalgic
I think
for just
some of
having
it is it
music?
reduces their costs of touring.
And touring, absolutely.
And certainly what can be done these days with even if it's a video wall now versus, what it used to take, and lighting can be much easier. I think people are going simpler because it's almost easier to do that now because the technology has changed and kind of stripping it down a little bit.
California was the last city to open, obviously with COVID.
Yeah, right.
The last venue type to open was the Save Mart Center. So we literally were one of the last venues in the United States to open.
Did it hurt you guys a lot?
I hurt us a lot.
Yeah.
Because
recovering though, okay?
Well, we're recovering okay, but we didn't get some shows because they booked 2 years out.
Oh, I see.
And we were shut down. We're seeing it now, but the gas prices is making a big difference.
Listen, I got to ask, and Marcella, are you ready to start shedding some tears again? Okay. Talk about recovering. My friend Mitzi here, you went through a hell of a time this last year. You had a battle with cancer, and you gave me permission to talk about it on there.
Yeah.
What's the status? How are you doing? And how was that last year, not only running or helping run the Save Mart Center? Because you didn't stop working, did you?
Not really.
Yeah.
It was my 3rd cancer.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I was diagnosed with breast cancer the first time, right when I started at the Save Mart Center. And I blessed. I'm just going to say that. I did not have to have chemo. The kind I had was removable by surgery. And I went through a very long series of radiation.
Oh, you did do radiation, yeah.
And popped right back up. Prior to that, I had cervical cancer. And that was cured by surgery. That's the easiest one to cure.
Yeah.
And then here, 10 years later, it's been a year, I found a lump. And it was this was a new cancer.
Yeah.
It was in the same breast. And because it had been radiated, they said, we just got to do a mastectomy. I said, I'm fine with that. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
And they did. And it was the most major surgery I've ever had.
Tough. Is it just major tough recovery?
It was just painful.
Emotionally or painfully?
Emotionally, I was fine.
Yeah.
I never got scared because I was mad that I got it again. And they told me right off the bat, this is curable, you're going to be fine. Then I was okay.
Yeah.
Then let's book it, let's get it over with. I don't like sitting still, and I have to sit still.
I have a very close friend going through it right now and just found out and starts up the chemo here pretty soon. So any words of advice I'd appreciate after this. But
if your friend needs to talk, I'm here.
I appreciate
all the time.
You had a great tribute from Jose Ramirez, the former welterweight champ. He did what?
It was the most amazing thing. His manager, Rick Merigian, told him about my cancer. And we had a big press conference. It was live on ESPN TV. We did it over at the rec center at Fresno State. And Jose put my name and the pink cancer ribbon on his shorts. Yeah. Talked about it on TV, and now I have those hanging in my office.
He put the pink ribbon on his shorts
that he wore
during the fight, and he won.
He said, Mitzi, I'm knocking out your cancer in this.
What a sweet guy. I love him. Well, I listen, as I said, one of my favorite girls in the whole world, and I'm so glad that you've recovered from that. I'm so glad to be your friend all these years. Bob, you got a great person working for you, and you'll get to know everybody in Fresno pretty soon. Yeah.
I think we've gone through a lot of them already.
Mitzi Evans and Bob Nocek from the Save Mart Center. Thanks for being on the show, you guys.
Well, Mark,
thanks for having us.
Hey, and thanks to my wonderful producer, Marcella Solorio Taylor, for all our hard work. This is the Mark Kapetan Show. We'll see you next week. This is KMJ.